There is no sound because I took that away from you. You don't get sound today. Man, I need to turn off. It still seems like all the exposures are weird. Here, check it out. We're gonna do some camera. Oh, you know why? Check it out. Because I'm using the crappy camera. Oh, that one's just as crappy. It also seems like it's a little cattywampus. Can I fix that to make it look less crappy? Yeah, there we go. Hello, everybody. Since we got to do the obligatory sound check. Am I audible? Can anyone hear me? Oh God, that's worse. Is that worse? I can't tell. I think the TV I'm looking on looks like crap, but I also think, hold on. The focus also is kind of goofy. It's getting worse. No. That's worse. That's better. Sounds like a radio guy. Good morning, Vietnam. Hello. Focus is bad. Exposure is nice. Yeah, I'd rather focus on the background for now. Emoto always wants me to use all of the crazy studio lights and turn off the other lights, right? Like turn off all the lights in the house. And I just can't deal with that. It's too dark. And she's always like, well, just put a headlight on. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I need actual light or else I can't see anything. It's just part of being blind. So I taunt her all the time by not using the good lights. Why do I have this camera on? Hold on. You guys have to look at this. Actually, and this sucks too. Man, I really just screwed up. So they had like some big meeting here yesterday, and I had to tear all this stuff down. And I always hate resetting up the setup after I am not here because it's never just right. And then I also today don't have Emoto to tell me, you need to turn that camera 1 inch to the right, and it will look 10 times better. And then I do, and it looks 100 times better. But, you know, I still can't read. Hold on. We're gonna do some We're gonna do some drastic rearranging here. You can see my head. So I think this stream has just proved to me that I need more glasses, new glasses more than anything right now. All right. Now I can sit down. Hello, Internet. What's going on? Andrew appreciates the intense close-up. I hope you do. How many people are just immediately leaving right now because Emoto's not here? I totally understand. I would too. Why are they messing with your studio place? Tell them to have the meeting in the lunchroom. Unfortunately, nothing I say goes, and they would all laugh at me. So I really can't say anything like that. Pin Guy says, howdy. I'll hang with you for a while. Cool, thank you. Well, I also really have very little planned today other than taking a look-see at this Guardians of the Galaxy. So they call me Duda. We are all here for you. Yeah, no, I think that's a lie. I think most people are actually here for Emoto, but it's fine. She's way cooler than I am. And Colin's staying. Good for you. Colin, did you get tickets to go to, are you going to the Ann Arbor show? Can you consider redeeming the 75 Give Us Trivias when my brain is more turned on, please? Hey man, I'm going to have to tell you, you must be stuck in a time loop or something, because we did figure out what's wrong with the 10X light. We figured out what's wrong with it by concluding that there was nothing wrong with it, or we fixed something without noticing it. Colin says hydrate with beer. Well, hold on. Ugh. Oh, Mark Friedberg, you're joining us on Facebook. On Facebook, you will only see comments people put in on Facebook, or you can see the small chat window right here. Where is it? Right there. If you joined us on Twitch, you can see all of the chats. If you went to twitch.tv and then found our channel, which I believe is Marco Pinball, you will have a totally different environment. Twitch is a free streaming service, so you don't even need to have an account. You can watch us there. Actually, you would need to have an account to chat with us. So if you want to, come on over and you can see what everyone is saying. Colin's not going to Ann Arbor. I wish I could come, dude. It's just travel. Plane tickets are way too expensive to go anywhere right now. But I'm going to tell you, next year, there's no way I would miss that. I need to go visit and say hi to Clay Harrell one day. Colin's going to have the anti-Ann Arbor pinball show. Oh, boy. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for joining us all the way from Croatia. Welcome. You want to see the 10X light? OK, check it out. I think this cable's long enough. You see it? It's lit, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. It really is, I swear to God. I'm not just using a cop-out. Now you have to look at Groot. Colin, I swear I am hydrating with a beverage. Yeah, $100 is kind of expensive to go to a pinball show. But let's face it, man, there's like 500 games in there. Come on. I mean, the power bill for a day has got to cost a ton of money to run. You know. Pez, I swear, I swear. Hey, he did say that it is $20 off if you can prove you have a COVID vaccination, so it's only $80 if you get vaccinated. Thank you, Clay, for that funny there. Hello, Jim. Thank you for joining us from Royston in the United Kingdom. Hopefully it's not too hot for you there. Kyle, any idea why my Guardian sometimes has trouble kicking balls out from the trough, especially during multi-ball? I'm going to tell you that you should probably make sure that that coil is tight and make sure that everything looks correct. So raise the playfield, look at the trough. We'll do that in a second. Winter is coming 2021. Ah, okay, you joined us from Facebook, huh? Pinball Gramps, hello. Thank you for joining us. You spend more time tailgating and hanging with out-of-state. Well, then you should just go and then tailgate until someone feels guilty and lets you into the show for free. Or for $80, I don't know. Ugh. Yeah, so I guess we've been chatting long enough so I could talk about what we might be doing today. Wait, hold on. Can everyone appreciate this stupid holding graphic I made because Emoto isn't here to actually Photoshop me anything? I actually declined it, but check it out. Please notice the space right underneath Guardians of the Galaxy where I had to put another big white text box to continue blocking out the Viking text. That was pretty good, huh? Dent brings up a interesting point to Law Talking Guy 69. Also, thank you for joining us and chatting for the first time. You can test that in the test menu. I'm assuming when you say treble kicking balls out that it's failing to kick the ball into the shooter lane every time. But there is a good test menu. Actually, maybe that's something else we can do on this stream here, is kind of explore the modern Stern test menus and what you can do on each game. Your volume's all the way up, but I'm kind of quiet. Am I quiet? Is my voice coming through quiet? I can boost my gain a teeny bit here. Twitch does have a volume control, so like if you hover your mouse over the actual video player, you should be able to get a separate volume like slidey bar. Check that. And if you're on Windows, sometimes like some programs will like turn volume down. So if you like right-click on the volume button, you should see a sound mixer, and you can kind of turn that up and down. So, anywho, yeah. Maybe we should get to work. We've got this super sweet Guardians of the Galaxy Pro here. One of my coworkers bought this. I think this game came off of a route at a not super busy location. So this game was, I think it was on location. But it definitely has a couple problems. This is a new Guardians of, actually wait, maybe it's not new. Let's see. It has an Insider connected kit installed. It's a July 30 of 21, so it's about a year old. And we should take a look at it here. Oh. Sound is normal. I'm glad that I am normal. Sometimes it takes a couple of attempts to kick it out, although sometimes it gives up and I have to manually kick it out. Oh, okay, so law talking guy. Here, let's actually jump right into this, his question, their question here first. I think we might be talking about two separate parts of the pinball game. There are two coils that are used to serve balls into the game, right? So we have our trough here. Oh, wait, hold on. Gotta switch cameras. I don't have Emoto to automatically do all this crap for me. Center. Is this the right camera? Nope. But that is. And then this one can be on that camera, or maybe this camera. No, that one sucks. We use that camera. Okay. When I thought you said the trough was having trouble kicking it out, I was thinking about this. This is the ball trough, right? Oh, wait. I'm doing a bad job. Center view. Why is this not working? That's working. That's working. Hold on, y'all. Oh, wait. Oh, because I'm being dumb. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. Let's catch back up with the chat really quick. See, there it is. First time chatter. Thorville, Emoto is not here today. Emoto gets a day off because she works a lot, and I wanted her to rest. We've got two systems in play here. When you said trouble kicking the ball and you said trough, I assumed you were talking about the trough, right? So we've got the trough, the ball goes in here, the balls live in here. This board, there's a board set. This keeps track of how many balls are in the trough. And then we've got this coil here. This is our trough up kicker coil. And then we have a second coil here, which this is the auto launch. When you said trough, I was thinking you were having a problem with this guy here. What can happen is this can loosen up slightly. If this coil does become a little cattywampus, if you have a collapsed spring here, if there's any damage to the tip of this plunger here, you can have all sorts of goofy things going on with the balls actually being kicked out into the shooter lane. Same could be said about the auto launch setup as well. Generally, though, these can have more intensive problems than the trough kickout. A lot of the times, the problem that can occur with these is this piece of this formed piece of sheet metal actually can break. I have seen them have stress cracks. This one is okay, but what you'd want to look for is you want to make sure that this connection here is tight. You want to make sure that it can freely move. You see these nylon bits here? Those are called nyliners. They snap into this sheet metal piece, and they are basically a plastic bearing or bushing that rides on this pin to allow it to slide without metal-on-metal contact. And they're essentially a maintenance-free bushing or bearing, right? But you always want to make sure that all this stuff is clean, tight. I mean, this is the tolerance that is correct, right? We've got a little bit of deflection here. That's fine. Make sure all the hardware is in place. Make sure that there is nothing happening up here. If you look at this, like one thing that can really affect auto launches on Stern games or whatnot, and I always tell everyone about this spring is important for aesthetic reasons and for some functionality. This barrel spring keeps the shooter rod out exactly where it needs to be. If this starts to compress, which they do over time with usage, right? Lots of that will just start to destroy it. But the shooter rod can start to stick out like that. And if the ball isn't sitting very nicely up against the forks of the auto launch, it won't kick as nice. You see that? So for it to work correctly, it really needs to sit on those forks there. Let me see if I can simulate this somehow. I need like 9 hands. If I push this far forward, no, okay, it still works, but there can be many things. If it's really, really not plunging very well, you probably have a linkage problem. Anywho, let's go back to the chat really quick, and then we'll go into other things. Now you just get to look at Giant Groot. I'm not switching those cameras around. Oh, good. No one said anything while I was word souping. Oh, yeah. I forgot to change that free shipping code. The free shipping code, if you go to our website, there's a free shipping 99 code that's going on right now for summer, I think. I forget what the code is. Is it Pin Summer or something? You can use that one. We just didn't make a new code for today because, like I said, Emoto is not here. So I don't know. Did that make sense? The difference between like your auto launch and your plunger, or trough plunger? I don't know what your problem was. Hello, Philip Forrester. How are you? Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. My man, what is up? Anywho, what we were going to go into was my coworker bought this game. It sat on location for a bit. Let's take a look at a lightly played game and see what they look like and what is wrong and what is not wrong. What is weird, what is not weird, and maybe we can take a look and figure out why Groot does not open and close his mouth, because that's the funnest part of the game. Yes, Pinball Magician, thank you. The code is PinSummer22. Much appreciated. I'm going to take a sip of water. So yeah, does anyone need an overview of Guardians of the Galaxy, or can we just jump underneath? This is this game's pretty old now. What? It's 5 years old? Jeez, I think this game came out right before Iron Maiden, right? I was kind of disappointed when this game came out because I didn't understand what was going on. And with the layout being very similar to Metallica, I was like, I'd kind of just rather play Metallica. But I do remember, like it might have been like the summer of Code update or the Christmas of Code dump, and they introduced like a new version of the code that just changed the way the game played 100%. It's such a different game now. I like it. I'm reading this long comment here. Sorry, that's why I'm staring at the TV. I added a Stern Connect to my Deadpool Pro and would like to add the factory trough lights. I tried looking for the Stern brackets, but cannot find them for sale anywhere. I know I can make them myself, but would like the factory part and harness. Huh. That's an interesting request and something I would like to figure out. I guess looking at this, game, since this is a pre-Insider connected game, right? I installed one on my Deadpool, and it had the lights. This one has plugs where those the apron lights would go. Let me see if I can get some of those, and I would like to see if I could get those produced, or see if Stern would be willing to sell them to us for us to sell to other customers. I don't know if we would be able to acquire them with the harness and everything. You might need to piecemeal it together somehow, but we'll see. Guardians of the Galaxy, great game. It really is. It's a fun one. Good soundtrack. But yeah, I think since no one has said, yes, let's look at Guardians of the Galaxy, let's just open up the game. Does anyone else feel like this is kind of similar to Metallica? I mean, we all know it has a very similar layout, but I guess it's different enough, right? There's no inline drop targets, and you've just got the that crazy kickback, which is fun and fast. And then instead of the snake and all of that, we've got the orb. I don't know. It's kind of neat. I like Groot. He's very handsome. But I definitely like the Pro more than the Premium, just because at my height, I can't see anything when the gigantic Groot arms are covering the entrances here. So I definitely like the Pro. Let's open this game up. Since this is a new construction game, it has an interlock switch. So let's look at that really quick. They still manufacture these games with the old service, like all-thread thingies, just because when this game was laid out, they didn't have enough room to put the full service rails, right? So they're not going to go back in and reconfigure the game to add those service rails. So they're still making them with the old service supports. Interlock switch. A lot of modern Williams games have these also, or like 90s Williams games. They're not modern anymore. It's a 3-position switch. When the door is shut, this bracket right here closes that switch, and that supplies what would be considered high voltage to the rest of the playfield. So I believe what it's for is it's to help the game get like UL certified. What happens though is now that if we need to service it and we understand the risk of zapping ourselves, we go through the responsible act of pulling the switch into its 3rd position, which also lights the game up. So we can still have high voltage while the door is open and we're servicing the game. Let's talk about this for just 1 second, but we refer to this sometimes jokingly, but the magic gold dust. Do y'all see the magical gold dust down there? That is your first sign that the coil stops are starting to fail on your flippers. It happens sometimes it does not. Sometimes it happens faster than others, but this game definitely had a failing coil stop for a while. Have they been changed? They have. What you'll find a lot of the times is with the failing coil stops, that dust is from the non-conductive shading ring. So you've got it's to keep this whole thing non-ferrous and magnetized to the stop, but the gold ring here, I think it's brass, it'll start to degrade and you get those little flakes all over. But when you start to get a bad one, you can tell because you'll be able to see the core moving around a lot in the actual stop. I can already see a lot of things that we need to mess with. And this, I think, was kind of like my idea for this episode is let's take a game that's been played, a bit, and what should we look for? Like if I just bought this game, right, before I'd go put it at home or on location or something like that, what would we want to do for a brand new game, but it has been played, right? We want to make sure that it's all good. Let's see what the chat is saying again, because I see it moving all over the place. I can't read. I feel so blind. The spinners on the Premium. I wish the Pro had spinners. Yeah, that is cool. Pirate Princess Jess talking about how cool the orb is. Was this your game, Eric? I think that's what Marco was saying. He did buy it from you, maybe. Greetings, Rebel Dog. I missed you at Southern Fried as well. I'm sorry I was not there. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? I'm glad you're here then, Eric. Eric, have you found or could you figure out why Groot's mouth was not opening and closing? You replaced the coil stops early on. Good man. The first thing I found really quick here was loose screw, right? Remember, always be tightening. We want to get in there and make sure everything. I put my nut drivers away wrong. Hold on. Oh, there we go. We want to make sure everything is tight. Loose screws do not do us any favors any time ever. So that's one thing I always do when I get a new game that works, you know, air quotes, that we don't need to sit and take apart and do everything to, is go through and check screws. Whenever I go and service anyone's game, I always go through and take a look at screws, which is important. I don't see any other really loose ones, but we'll keep our eyes out as we move down the game. This is one of Stern's wonderful, brilliant spike system games. So we have localized drivers. So what that means is we don't have any drive circuitry in the head. If you've never seen the inside of a modern Stern game, there's not much. And you can already tell that there's not a lot going on under the playfield either. There's very few wires, which is wonderful. It's fantastic to service these things. It's very easy. What we have are two drivers on this playfield. We will call them core nodes. What these do is they will drive lamps, they will handle switch inputs, and they will also drive coils. We have data coming from the computer via these RJ45 cables. One of them sends all the data from the computer, which is in the head, into here. Data that needs to be read by this computer, this node board will be. Then it is passed on up through the bus to the next node board, which is up here. This game has the insider connected setup as well. So we've got a normally empty port here with another bit of data cable going to the QR reader, which is in the apron. What these core nodes do, like I said, they drive lamps and switches and solenoids. So we've kind of got, it's not exactly this way all the time, but you know, this half of the playfield is driven by this core node, and this half of the playfield is driven by this core node. We've got serial data that is driven out of each node into other nodes. So if you looked in a Stern manual, you'll see like, you know, node 0 is the computer, node 1 is the coin door board, I think, and then you've got, you know, all of these have a node number. But what there is there's data fed, you know, through these RJ45 cables that say, hey, drive whatever lamp is on here. This is a little cleaner up here. We've got, you know, here's some serial data coming out and into this node, which is all lamps. There are electronics on the other side that will decipher the information coming out of here, whether it's for this or if it should be passed on, right? So we have serial input. We have other drivers here. Those drive these lamps. Then you've got serial output. So the data comes from here, whatever's used here gets done. It comes out here, it goes into this node. It's out here, goes into this node. We've got another output here, so it goes out from here, and that drives the motor for Groot. So actually, this node board drives the Groot mouth. So like I said, it's not always a 50-50 split, but we just found that the chain of this motor actually goes all the way back to this board. Does that make sense? Holy crap, there's a lot of chat messages. Let's start reading those really quick before I keep going. It was intermittent, never really explored it, just disabled the job, but would love to know what the issue was. Okay, it was disabled. Okay, I'm gonna do a factory reset then, but let's see if we can figure it out now. Yeah, I've since this game was new when I was working in distributors. I've unboxed 100 of these things, and I've definitely had to do my fair share of adjustments in reporting to Stern problems we found with some devices that Since this is was made last year, this shouldn't have any of those problems, but. Interesting. Okay, you already missed the game. Well, you know where to come play it, so come back down. But really quick, before we keep talking about mumbo jumbo, let's do a factory reset, and we can kind of explore the Stern menu system a teeny bit. This is probably going to be boring to a lot of people who might know how to do this, but hopefully it helps someone. It's a very similar 4-button setup to like your modern Williams games from the 90s, which is not modern anymore, or any Stern game from that time forward. In the game over screen, the service credit will add a service credit. In the game over screen, or in tracked mode, this will down and up the volume. That was good English. Raise or lower the volume. And then the black button will enter the menu. When we're in the menu, we can then use the red buttons to scroll left and right, use the green button to go backwards, or the black button to go forwards. Let's get this on the screen. You can kind of see what's going on there, yeah? So I want to do a factory reset on this game. The motor has been disabled. That's pretty simple to turn off in the diagnostics, and we can do that. But maybe you want all the high scores to be yours, etc. If you just got a game and you want to reset it back to, I just took it out of the box levels of normalness, you'll want to go into the Utilities menu, scroll over to the Resets menu. And then you're presented with a few things here. You can reset the coin audits, right? So if I move this from an old location to a new location, let's get current updated audits. Reset all the game audits. So all the game audits would be things like average ball time, how many times did it drain out the left out lane, how many right flipper hit, that kind of crap. You can reset your grand champion score, your high scores, which they keep separate. Your credits, like if the game was loaded up with 15 credits or something like that, if you were sitting there testing the coin switches, or you wanted to reset them so people could continue playing and not playing off of other people's credits, you can do that. Reset the audio settings. I use that when I stream new games, if we need to turn the background music off to not get DMCA'd. And then you got your reset to factory. So I believe reset to factory will literally wipe everything, including your high scores and stuff like that. So we're going to do that. It gives you a, are you sure? I am. So let's see. So it's going to restart. We should have just kind of cleared everything here. Let's take a look. So if you can tell already, we're back onto coin play. It was on free play, but it's telling us 1 credit's $1 and 3 is 2. We have no credits. It's bringing us to the quick setup screen, which is something really cool Stern added a few years ago. So when you have a brand new, fresh game, instead of going through the menus, if you're maybe a beginner user and you don't know how to navigate stuff, it comes up with this, which is cool. You can just go immediately here and say, yes, I want free play. But let's go show the more complicated way how to do it as well. Date, time, network stuff, insider connected. We're not really going to mess with that right now, but let's just hit save and exit. I'm going to lower the volume. I don't think like 2 bars of Cherry Bomb is going to get us DMCA'd, but let's just see. So now Groot's mouth should be working. Let's go through like some of the settings I'll set a new Stern game to also, just in case you care what I do. Standard adjustment. Okay, so we have, let's look at some of these things too. Diagnostics, makes sense, it's diagnostics. Audits are things that the game keeps track of for you, gives you statistics. Adjustments are how you change things in the game. You've got standard and feature adjustments. Standard adjustments are going to be things that every pinball game has. What kind of replay, the percentage of replays, what do you get for a special, how many free games can the game give out at one time or in one game, how many extra balls can it give out in one game, right? Things that all pinball games do. Feature adjustments are related to Guardians of the Galaxy itself. So is the drop target screwed up? Should we disable that? Should we disable the orbit, one-way gates, the motors, magnets, disable Groot, which is what was done. And you can notice things too on the bottom where it says installed factory default, etc. So, if you were going into a new game, you could see if we go back in here, factory, 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 okay, there's something not factory there. So you can kind of see when you scroll through if something's been messed with. Let's change that back. What I'm doing here too to change that is when I find the option I want to change, I will hit the black button or the select button. And then you see how it goes from disable group motor to no. Once it's flashing no, I can change that option by using the green buttons down below, right? And then the black button will select. The green button will just always go backwards out of every menu. If I keep spamming it, it'll bring me back to the main menu. Anyways, the things that I normally change when I set up a brand new game and I'm putting it in like a customer's home, specifically home, there's a few things that a lot of people do end up enjoying, which is one thing is never resetting high scores. That's something I like to change in a home because people like high scores for some reason. Just kidding, everyone loves a high score. Usually I'll change the high score initials to 10 for a home. You can probably use your imagination why you wouldn't want to do that in a public location, because suddenly everyone is, you know, expletive head or expletive you, etc. But normally at home I'll change that to 10 because it's more fun. I'll set the high score reset count down to nothing. I will take credit for this. Constant nagging of one of my software developer friends at Stern now makes all of this go down by 100s instead of 10. So it's very quick to get down to off. Before it took forever, so thank you, Guido. Free play, yes. And what this will do is I changed was this setting from the factory, it will reset the high scores every 2,000 games, which is good for location, but not necessarily something you want at home if, you know, you and your kids or partner or whatever are fighting over high scores. Free play, yes. The last couple things I'll change is I'll turn the knocker volume to low. That way that really large bleep, that super loud thing that scares people will be loud instead of super loud. And the other best bit, that's a new one, start button behavior, all logged in. Game restart. I like to leave that on, so if you have a bad first ball, you can. But there's the, where is it? This one here. Allow left plus start to end game. In free play arcades, at pinball shows, etc., you have a tendency of somebody or a child to come up and start a 4-player game, play 4 balls, and then walk away. That's kind of a pain in the butt. There's a fun setting here that I'll usually set to free play only. That'll allow you, like during the course of any game, if you hold down the left flipper button and the start button for like 3 or 4 seconds, it will cancel the game and play and go back to attract mode, which is fun. Yeah, so those are the things I like to change for the games at home. Teach me about tilt debounce. Tilt debounce. So how do I describe this? Because I understand what it does in my head, but how do I actually say what it does? Like, okay, so you know how if you shake a game really hard, right? The plumb bob is going dun, 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 dun. So if you gave it one good shake and you had 2 tilt warnings before you actually got a tilt, if you shook it really hard, it would go 1, 2, tilt, right? Where the tilt debounce gives you a little bit of freedom between your first hit and when it might start again to register another hit, right? So you can shake it really hard and it will go 1, 2, but that'll count as 1 tilt warning. Or if you gave it a real godly shake, it'll go 1, 2, 3, and that could be enough to give you that second warning, so you get a double danger or something like that. So that's what tilt debounce does. Noob Cybok wants me to stretch, so I will stretch. Thank you. I need to stretch my terrible back. Thank you, thank you. Anyways, so now that we've gone through some of that stuff, other things you can find in here, again, audits. Again, we've reset everything, so we have no audits here. You can see, though, that even though you've reset everything, it still shows the lifetime amount of plays. So this game has recorded 5,873 games started since it was activated. But since we've done that reset, it has 0. So, but this is the kind of stuff it keeps track of, right? How many times is the left flipper used? How many times is the right flipper used? I challenge everyone with a modern Stern game to go and look at these audits, and you will see that the right flipper is used a whole lot more than the left, especially if you're right-handed. It's a funny thing I notice. These are interesting as an operator, though. We operated a Stern Star Wars at I hate to call Musée Mécanique a tourist trap because it's the most incredible place ever, but it is in the tourist zone of San Francisco, so it is a tourist trap. But watching these numbers, right? Watching to see how many 1 to 1.5 minute games were played. So we wanted to make sure and craft the game to be worth it for $1, right? If you were getting, this is one reason why like my Total Nuclear Annihilation never did well in like a normal person pinball location, because someone who doesn't understand what's going on is going to get a 1 minute 25-second game for their $1, and then they're pissed off and they walk away. So you can walk through here to see how long the average game is, and you can roughly translate that to how good a player is at pinball, or how good the average grouping of people are in a location, which will allow us to do things like with that Star Wars is we would go in and change the free ball timer, right? Where is that? It's somewhere in here. But how long do you have that initial ball save on for, right? The guys at Stern are good, and they set these things well when the games come out of a box. Ball save timer, 5 seconds. That's pretty average. You should be able to kind of collectively figure out what's going on within 5 seconds, and then you're on your own. In some locations, especially like a tourist place like Musée Mécanique with Star Wars, which is a notoriously difficult game, we've set this thing to like 12, 13 seconds to achieve an average game time of about 3 minutes, which is what the designers generally want. So the lower the debounce number, the tighter. I have no idea. I don't remember, but you'll have to mess with it. I think the higher the number, the longer that free ride lasts for. What were we looking at? So that's what the audits are. Earnings audits. How many games have you had paid? Again, these are all things that are reset now. We should have looked at them before. I'm sorry. I don't remember what. I think Stern considers the center slot. I don't remember which is which. The center slot might be the DBA. Eric, did this ever have a DBA in it? I don't remember. Which coins went through where, how many was the total coins. It tells you in so many different ways how much money went into this game. This game, if this was 100% true, it has made $4,000 in the time that it was on location, which is, that's pretty good. But then if you consider that you have to pay generally 50% of that with the location owner, well, you've made $2,000 on your $6,000 investment. So pinball is not easy. We do it because we love it, right? Guardians, audits, how many times certain features have been, achieved. I'm sorry, we should have looked at all this before I factory reset it. But go look at your game if you're interested. Diagnostics is where things are it's more like what we're into, right? The switches, we can test our switches in our switch test mode. Active switch test is something different. People ask me this all the time. What is it? In Williams, they called it switch edges and switch levels. Switch edges would be the switch test, and switch levels would be active switch. Stern used more sensical English. Active switch test is exactly what switch levels are. Which switch is active? This will help you find stuck switches a lot of the time. Switch edges or switch test will be active response to what you're doing. So me hitting the slingshot switch, me hitting the in lanes and out lanes, that is what this does. You always want to test these things with a ball. Don't use your finger. If you're really trying to diagnose an issue, your fingers are fatty. So when you push down on those little slots in the playfield, the fattiness of your finger wants to get in there and close that switch even further than a ball would. So a lot of the times you're going to want to use a ball to test everything to make sure you're actually getting switch closures. Eric says dollar is center. Yeah, thank you. Okay. How many operators fully utilize these menus to maximize revenue, do you think? I don't know, honestly. I mean, I don't. If I ever saw in any of my games like the massive amount of, not the massive amount, the minuscule amount of money, no, just kidding. If I ever saw the money in the cash box change, right? If I ever saw the amount of money in the cash box go up or down, is the game getting boring? Are people not playing it right? Should I run a special? I think the difference is a lot of these things are here for old school operators, right? Oh shoot, I didn't realize the light was reflecting so hard in that. Hold on. Where can I move this where y'all can see it? Oh, you know what? I should just put the play field down while we keep going through this. My bad. That's better. What you get, though, is a lot of these are holdovers from when operators actually would spend a lot of time on that because that was their business. Nowadays, most operators are people like you and me that have a lot of pinball games and they want to share them or put them on location or whatever, right? And a lot of them don't care as much, or maybe they're better integrated or ingrained with their player base, and their player base will communicate with them directly. Back in the day, the only way that Bob from Bob's Cigarette Company was going to get input from their player base, for the most part, was if people stopped, putting money into his coin box, right? And that's what really matters. So this thing's tripping out trying to focus on the screen. That sucks. Here, let me fix that really quick because that's going to drive me nuts. And we're going to spend just a minute in the menus still. So what I'm getting at is I don't know. Personally, I don't use them a ton. Sometimes I do, but not all the time. They are good for trying to find real specific bits of information, though. So yeah, but the thing is the game does track a lot of data. So if you're curious or you like data, there are definitely things to look at. So that was the switch test. So now there's switch alerts also. We're not going to have any alerts because we factory reset the game. But if you remember the good old credit dot on your WPC games, where that will kind of tell you when there might be an error in a game. That's what that would be. This game was pulling up a technician alert and a switch alert because it had not seen balls in the trough for Groot's mouth. I forget how many games Williams games needed to go through. Let's just say 50. And it's really common on games like, let's take Indiana Jones, for example, or Twilight Zone is another good one, where in Twilight Zone you have the battlefield, or the mini playfield where you fight the power. It's not easy for an average player who doesn't know how to play the game to get the ball with the magnet slung through the top. Or likewise on Indiana Jones, you have you have 4 micro switches and then 6 optos. It's not easy for the average player to get the ball into certain pockets on the crazy playfield on Indy. So a lot of the times you'll play 50 games and not hit one of those switches, and you'll get an alert and the game's like, yo, something might be broken. So sometimes it's a double-edged sword, but that's what this does here, the alert. Coil, this makes sense. You are testing coils. You cycle through the coils by using the left and right buttons, and then hit the black button on the inside here to fire that coil. I don't remember. You can use the start button to do the same thing. You'll notice there's some other information down on the bottom. The drive for the trough is going to be an orange-gray and a gray-orange wire. The other information there, I think, relates more to where that drive is from on the node board itself. So that's pretty simple. Lamp test. You can test a single lamp on the game. Let me cycle through, and we can try to get the game to call up singular lamps. Where are they? So that kind of makes sense. I don't really need to explain that. Then we've got all lamps that will flash all of the LEDs at one time. These tests aren't as important nowadays because LEDs don't really go bad. But you can use these tests to figure out if the light you think is supposed to be being lit is being lit or not. You've got a GI test, so you can test each strand of general illumination that the node boards can control. It's technically, I don't know if we could even call it general illumination. I should talk to some of the guys at Stern to see what they consider it, because I think technically it's a controlled lamp, you know, but we call it general illumination still because it lights the game for us. Flashers, that tests the flashers. We know what those are. Node board menu, this will test and send data through all the node boards and stuff. Really don't need to mess with this much unless you think you have an actual data problem. This one's interesting here, the game-specific tests. On more complicated games, premium, pros, LE, or premiums and LEs and stuff, you'll have a lot more options here, but this will test things that are specific to Guardians of the Galaxy without needing to go through other stages of the menu. And that's what kind of gets us to exactly where we need to be, to look at Groot. For example, though, let's use the single drop target test. Right now, the game can lower and raise the drop target itself. So by me pushing the black button, we're raising and lowering the drop target. So we have a black square, which means the switch is not closed. I'll hit it, it knocks the drop target down, and now the game can see that that drop target is down. The switch can read that it's down. Now we've got the Groot test as well. So the way that Groot works, let's take a look-see here. Let's read the chat too. Yeah, alert, you're bad at hitting the ramp. You haven't hit it in 50 games. Yes, that's kind of what it's there to say. So the Groot motor has an interesting drive. There's two switches. You can see here, the game knows when the motor is up, or when Groot's mouth is closed, when this limit switch is hit. Oh wait, sorry, y'all can't see that. And it knows when Groot's mouth is shut, open, when this limit switch is hit. So this carriage here carries Groot's mouth, and this motor here drives it. The motor works with a cam. Can you see that at all? Let me turn the ring light on this camera on. You see that cam there? So in a 90-degree turn of this motor, that cam will raise and lower this spring-loaded hinge, right? You see how it's on these straight rods, but they're spring-loaded. So the natural position is it wants to be up and closed. With a 90-degree spin, with a 180-degree spin of this motor, that cam will now be pushing this downward and closing that limit switch. I don't know how the software actually reads it. I'm pretty sure that the software stops the motor as soon as it sees this switch. Maybe it's coded in a way that it gives a little bit of an overrun. Well, let's see where Groot's mouth is right now. Maybe it goes all the way down. Actually, it doesn't matter. Let's use the software to do it for us. I'm going to hit the black button while we're still in Groot test mode, and it should run the motor for us until the switch is hit. And it's not. OK, so we definitely have an issue. We don't have to worry about, actually, you know what? I don't think I've confused the game. So let's just for giggles, though, let's go back into Groot test, and I'm going to hit the black button now. It's not moving. So we definitely have a motor drive problem somewhere. The things we're going to want to do, let's kill the power so we don't zap anything. The coin door was open, but the switch was also on. You wouldn't be able to do all the tests and stuff if the switch wasn't pulled out. I'm going to take a sip of a delicious beverage. let's look at what we have going on here. So we have power to the motor and ground. Those are there. They're connected. We've got a harness that runs down to this motor control board of sorts. Let's unplug. I did that badly. Please do not unplug things by pulling on the actual wire. But I do see some damage, right, through the heat shrink here. It looks like it's superficial damage just to the heat shrink, not to the wires themselves. Let's plug that back in. We've got voltage coming in. This is probably voltage for the motor and for the board itself. Let's unplug this. I need to look at the schematics for this actual board to see what it is, but I'm going to assume that that is, actually, I don't remember. I don't remember Stern's color coding, but I'm pretty sure that gray is 48 volts and black is 12 volts. So a lot of these things do just run on 48 volts, and then it is regulated down to whatever usable voltage it is. I am not sure. Actually, yes, that's absolutely what it is, because right here it says 48 volts. So we know that we can sit here and check and make sure that this board has power somehow. But let's also think about the serial data coming in and out of these boards. Let's look at the chain. Looked like we had all of our lights working, but let's make sure that we aren't missing data coming from the daisy chain of data through all of these lamp boards. I'm going to do that here. First, I'm just going to unplug things. Sometimes it's good to unplug and replug things when you are having issues. Here's our data cable. I'm going to unplug that. Nothing looks weird. Plug that back in. I'm going to follow that back up to the serial data output on this node board. Take a look. Looks okay. Plug it back in. And then just for giggles, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to wiggle and reseat all of these data cables going to and from the node board at the top of the game. Now we will pull the interlock switch back out. I'm going to go back into the Groot mouth test, and we are going to try again. We got nothing. Interesting. I don't think this is our problem, but just to rule it out, actually I know this isn't our problem, but let's be thorough. Really quick here, we will just measure for 48 volts DC at this connection. I'm almost 100% certain we will have it. Yep. Okay. So what we have here is we either have a data problem or we have a motor problem, maybe a motor drive problem. Something simple we can take from our old school pinball knowledge. Oh, sorry, let's read the internet. FYI, there's a replacement motor in the coin box. Oh, well, isn't that convenient? Let's make sure it's not the motor first. Often motors generally don't fail. Sometimes they'll fail very catastrophically, but that's not impossible. Let's use some of our old pinball knowledge, and let's also remove the power from this, even though we have the interlock done. Let's just take a look, make sure that there's no weird, what if we have a little bit of cracked solder or something like that? We have 48 volts at the connector, but we don't have 48 volts actually getting to the board to then run everything. And then the other thing we can do is absolutely grab that spare motor. If it has the drive harness attached to it already, we can just kind of plug it in and see if this board will drive it. So the reason I'm doing it in this order also is just to let's take care of the absolute basic stuff before we try to look at some of the more expensive or complicated things. I'm going to grab my jeweler's loop. The heck is it? There it is. And we're just going to inspect all of our connection points here, make sure that there's no cracked solder. Unlikely, but one little joint being bad could cause none of this to work. And I actually do see something that I am unsure about. Let's remove this and take this to the bench for further inspection. I'm going to put all the screws here on the speaker that want to come out. Okay, none of these want to come. That one does. Okay. So this board, data coming in, power coming in, drive to the motor. Where did I see this? It might be a long shot, but I feel like I do see a little ring or square around one of these pins, which would indicate that the pin has kind of wiggled itself loose from the board itself, which would be a cracked solder joint. So I neglected to plug my soldering iron in because I was like, oh, we're not going to use that today. Let's plug it in. I'm going to tap it real quick, and then we'll put it back in the game and see what happens. I know Kyle gets my motor running, so this one should be no problem. Thank you. Thank you. Kyle looks parched. I think he needs a beer. Yep, well, beer can only happen later, but beverages can happen all the time. So I will drink beverage eventually. Let's wait for this thing to get toasty, and we'll just tap that connection. The one that I think I see cracked solder on is one of the pins that is actually used in the 3-pin harness for the motor. So it's a long shot, but let's just see. We're going to try everything we can before I have to annoy my friends Eddie, Talia, Pablo, and Pat at Stern. See if I could potentially get a new board if we don't have this one in stock. I do like this because I'm going to be able to give Marco a big fat bill. I'm talking like for Marco it's like $200 an hour, so we're racking it in right now. Let's take a look-see. Definitely doesn't look cracked anymore. Let's throw this in. Oh my God. Y'all are crazy. 55 minutes to Thirsty Thursday. That's true. T-minus 55 minutes and counting. Man, all you guys have your priorities straight. I like you. I have to go to dinner tonight with my wife and one of our neighbors. So there will definitely be a bit of my own Thirsty Thursday happening as well. Let's remount this guy. So again, we really don't, the only way we can test if this board is bad is by replacing it, right? I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the schematic, I don't know how to fix this. And that's, well, let's try to use some skills that we already have, like looking for cracked solder and easy stuff to try to figure out these more complex problems. Screw this guy back in. Again, the easiest thing to think about, right, is like, I think a lot of troubleshooting that people do, which I do not condone and I don't think is the right way, is trying to replace what they don't understand, because You don't understand it, so that obviously must be the thing that's wrong. You know, a lot of the time, some of these boards aren't the actual problem. It's other underlying problems with the game. And if you didn't understand or don't understand how serial data works and stuff like that, you know, if this guy was unplugged, for example, right? If this was all fine working, but this was unplugged like this or something like that, that would cause this to not work. New board, new motor, new board. Oh, it still doesn't work. Well, that will make it work, right? Let's power this thing on. You know, backwards, forwards, try to run the test. Nothing. OK, so now, if we, in our brain of troubleshooting, just think, OK, this is totally fine. Let's not even consider this. Let's think that the motor could be the problem. Let's see if Eric is telling the truth and if there is a motor in here. Hello, it's me, your loving neighbor. I didn't know you were my neighbor. Why aren't you over playing pinball all the time? I reflowed solder on the power board of our 8-ball deluxe, fixed our playfield light problem. There you go. What I don't recommend is doing crappy tech work. I recommend doing good tech work instead. Yes, in so few words, that is what I'm trying to say. There is a motor in here. Now, the unfortunate thing is that it doesn't have a harness attached to it, so here's the motor. I wish that I had a DC power supply in here and I could just hook up the other one and take the drive out of the game, but it's a 24-volt motor. It runs at 48 RPMs. Pretty cool. Oh, you didn't even see it because I didn't have it. Can you just jumper it to the other leads? Maybe, but I'm going to just resolder it. It'll take me just a second to unsolder these leads on the motor now and solder it onto the new ones. If it works, then I will replace it in the assembly, which maybe is something we can do next week. And then I can charge Marco even more because I worked on his game twice, and that means twice the money. Let's see, really quick, he's going for broke, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, kind of. Let's just figure it out. I'm gonna try to peel up this heat shrink. The heat shrink is doing its job where it is nice and tight, and I'm probably not going to be able to peel it up and reuse it, so I'll probably have to reapply it, which is also fine. I should be using something better than that. Bendy screwdriver. Come on. I think, I mean, the next logical step, instead of me just like changing motors, is like we could have been looking to see if it is pushing 24 volts to one of these wires, but I'm sure that Eric had been through it with Stern tech support, and Stern was like, yo, you probably need a new motor, so we're going to send you one. And I believe their experience and their troubleshooting, because those people are great. They get all of the calls when these things break. I'm going to carefully move my non-very portable soldering iron over here. So let's just remember gray on the left, brown on the right. Here goes one. Gray on the left, brown on the right. Da, 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 da. Okie dokie. Hermanson had a bad motor on your Star Wars. Yes, it definitely happens. The fork motor, yeah, that assembly is kind of weird. I've had those motors go bad as well. Gray on the left, brown on the right. Now I'm doubting myself like I've got it wrong. Is this a different motor? No, they just tied the capacitor's different. This one's actually kind of suspect. It looks weird. Huh, okay. I'm going to quickly solder this on, and we can plug this harness in and see what it does. I can hear Emoto now. Can you tilt the camera down? We can't see what you're doing. It's like, Emoto, just soldering really quick. She's probably here listening, rolling her eyes, raging. And that's fine. Y'all don't need to see this. This is boring. If this does work, I will take the wires back off and put some solder on. So here we go, new motor. Yes, that's exactly what Emoto would be saying. You guys know. Okay, power the game on. The boot up sequence takes a minute, but kind of hold this in a safe place. It's going. Here come the lights. I didn't turn the switch off, did I? Oh, there it goes. It's like, yo, where are all my node boards? I just saw them and now they're gone. There it goes. Okay, so I am navigating to the Groot Test now. Okay, so I have nothing still. Okay, so this is a little more complicated, and this is the fun part where you get to call Stern and see what's going on. I think what, I mean, there's no doubt that it, oh wait, is that a hole in a chip? If I would have noticed that, maybe. Hold on, let's see. I doubt it. I've never seen one of these motor control boards like Grenade, but there's something that looks slightly suspicious. But I kind of want to reattach all this now back to original. Oh, wait, yeah, that looks like a hole. That might be exploded. Here, check this out. Maybe, I don't know. I've just never seen a chip that has those sorts of indentations on them. Can y'all see that on that big like ASIC chip in the top left? You see those weird black indents? They look like, I know it's not in focus, but they look like, they're definitely little indentations. Oh, that doesn't work. Hold on. This is hilarious. Let's see if we can use the jeweler's loop. That does not help, does it? No, that actually looks crappier. Anyways, this could be a bad board. I don't know what would cause that or how that would happen, but it could. We'll play Road Kings next week. Yeah, it could be. I think that this board might be bad. I wonder if we have one in stock. Hey, internet, go to our website and never mind. I don't see a part number on it. Yeah, I'm going to resolder this back together really quick. And then we will try to figure out if we have that driver board. And if I have that driver board, then we can try to fix the game next week. If not, I might need to order one from Stern, which might take a minute, and then we can try to fix the game at a later date. But yeah, I thought that they could be orientations too, but there's 2 holes or 2 things in the chip. Usually you would have 1 orientation dot, not multiple. And a lot of these chips also have like an angled edge, which will tell you which side is which. But this has 2 holes, and it looks like there are bits of the identifying markings on the chip missing. So I'm going to say that he's dead, Jim. Huh. I wish I would have noticed that sooner before I went through this whole rigmarole. Call the pinball resource. I should. I love Steve. I talk to Steve all the time. Steve sends me parts extraordinarily fast. Him and his hard-working team, they're great folks up there. Steve Young has forgotten more about pinball than I will ever know. And that's very humbling to me. I'd very much like to sit and enjoy a tuna fish sandwich with Steve Young. Ugh. All right, really quick, going to solder this back on. Brown on the right, gray on the left. That's opposite of how I've been singing my little remembrance rhyme. I also think that maybe I could have noticed that this was goofed up faster by looking for any like signs of life LEDs. Most EEs, EE being electronics engineers, will definitely put like a status or, hey, I'm alive light on things. And this one was very oddly missing any sort of signs of life. So, and it still is actually, because the pinball machine is still on. Should we call Stern right now live? I've got Eddie's direct number. Be like, yo, Eddie, you're on the internet. I don't see any LEDs though. Unless they labeled one of the LEDs with like a Q or maybe a C. I mean, I guess it would be a D for diode, but still, a lot of the times, even most EEs will put LED, you know, because an LED is a diode. Anyways, yeah, it seems like we've got a dead, exploded board. So I've got part numbers. Okay, internet. Go to marcopinball.com and look for part number 520-6996-00. And tell me if it's in stock. Yeah, Stern has been using the same phone number for their tech support since 1980 something. 1-800-KICKERS. Out of stock. Well, shucks. Thanks, Pez Johnson. Oh, you did? I just didn't see it. Oh. Well, shucks. Looks like we're never going to fix this Guardians of the Galaxy. Replace the chip. Yeah, cool. I'm not going to do that. Look at that thing. I can do surface mount soldering, but look at that thing. It's insane. I'd need like the actual die to hold it in there and then hit it with the heat gun. But oh well. I might actually have a sample of that board, so I can probably just steal the sample, and when Stern sends us another one, I can replace it. So for sure the motor is enabled. Yes, we did a factory reset because the previous owner of this game is actually in chat and told us he had the motor disabled. So yeah, we've definitely tried that. I'm gonna try, but look, it's dead, man. It's screwed up. That chip has a huge hole in it. Chips are not supposed to have holes in them. This is actually a good example, too, of weak flippers. So really quick, let's summarize what we did before I go on to the next topic, and then we kind of end the show shortly. We had a non-working motor. We ensured that the data coming from the instruction giver to that board was good. We reseated all the connections. We potentially saw some cracked solder, so we tried that. Oh, those weird marks are on the photo of the board on the Marcos site. Colin says, why tuna, not roast beef? Why not ham? Why not an Italian sub? Because Steve Young likes tuna fish sandwiches. Every time I call him and ask him for what's for lunch, he says he's having a tuna fish sandwich. I like tuna. What's wrong with y'all? Just $49.99. Have Marco email when it's back in stock. I will. I'll sign myself up for my own email me when available. Let me go wash my hands really quick. You guys get to hear me washing my hands because now I know you can hear the sink. So let's go over here. Good hygiene. I hope you guys wash your hands at least like 5 times a day. Nice. Oh, so clean. Take a couple of paper towels because we'll definitely need them when we're touching these flippers. Ugh. Hold on, I'm going to pull up that part. I want to see the holes. You're supposed to sing happy birthday twice. I remember during the pandemic and everyone thought that, well, we're kind of still in a pandemic, but during the beginning and everyone was like, oh, everyone needs to wash their hands all the time. And one of the funny memes I saw was just like, say the opening intro to Star Trek, and that's exactly as long as you need to wash your hands for. Space, the final frontier. These are the, you're right, it does have some very interesting marks on it. I'm confused. Does it have 3? The one on the, oh, this is weird. But they look like they have texture, right? Like they look like they're actually, they have depth to them. I'm going to poke it with a screwdriver. Nah, dude, that's holy. I've never seen a chip that purposefully has a crater built into it. This is definitely certified a holy chip. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm going to call Stern and I'm going to talk to them. So, but not now. Oh, wait. I can't see chat now. Now y'all have to look at me again. The poking debug technique. Yes, it's real. That one, no, that one sucks. We'll use that camera. And then that one can be that camera. And now y'all have to look at Groot, who cannot open his mouth anymore. Oh, wait. We were going to look at flippers. Here, y'all have to look at the top right of your screen, because I don't want to change the cameras again. This is a flipper that desperately needs to be rebuilt. Where's my paper towel? Okay, whatever. Just look at that. You see like that massive amount of free play? Hold on, ring light enabled. Do you see that? Look at how much the crank can wiggle on the link, and then look at how much play we're also getting between the link and plunger. This is like a 1-2 awful combo. We've got a massive amount of play right there, and then we've also got a bit of play here. That's bad. That desperately needs a rebuild. This one is in the same condition. And that makes about, 5,000 games. You know, that's done its job. And if you think about it, we saw the earnings. If this game has made about $4,000, now it's time for you to spend 60 or $80 to get a new flipper rebuild set. And that's just the, you know, what it takes to run pinball. We'll pull the switch back out so everyone can look at sad Groot. How sad he is. He has no mouth. Okay. Y'all are weird. I love it. Okay, so you have to sing Happy Birthday the way Marilyn Monroe sung it to JFK while washing your hands, and that's the exact prescribed amount of time. Good to know. Hi, Stern. This is Kyle. We're trying to fix this live. Help. I wish. Thank you, Pez, for linking the flipper rebuild kit. I'd have to. Eddie would find it humorous, though. No, like M. Kunzelman, that is, it's with the newer Stern games, like when your coil stops might fail within 500 games, perhaps. If you've got a game with a bad batch of coil stops, it's okay to replace it. Because the coil stops just fail, you know. Oh, they're $50. I don't know how much things cost. I know how much they cost us, but I don't know how much they cost the public a lot of the time, so I'm sorry. But look, you can buy 2 flipper rebuild kits for the price that I quoted you for 1. So yeah, what we did was we found that we tried to see if we could see damage to the board, and then it seems like I may have missed the actual damage to the board. The motor made no difference, and we found that there might be holes in the chip for some reason, somehow. I don't understand. I've never really seen like crazy, massive failures out of new Stern games and their boards and stuff. That doesn't mean it's not impossible, but I'll call or email tomorrow and see if I can get any insight. We'll see what happens, and then we'll try to fix the game. All right, we're at that point of the show where we just talk now. So if y'all have any questions, talk to me. Oh, wait, yeah. Thanks, Pez Johnson. Man, hey, yo, you want to just get on the screen and be Emoto? Where is it? Yeah, go away. We don't have a free shipping code today because we are using the Pin Summer 22 code. That is a free shipping code throughout the entire month. So sorry, I should have turned that off hours ago. I think the code is still good for the rest of the month, if I'm right. Or maybe it's even longer. I'm not sure. But if Emoto was here, she would know. Pez Johnson used it last night. Good man. Buy pinball parts. Make your games happy. Through July 31st. Thank you for correcting me. Pinball Gramps says, I bought a flipper kit for my Gilligan's pin, but it didn't include a coil. I'm assuming I need to buy it separately. Yes, if you need to replace the coil. A lot of the time, you will not need to replace the coils, your flipper coils, until they fail. I would not replace them unless you need to. If your flippers currently worked and you just needed to replace some worn-out linkages and stuff like that, just replace those. And if it's still funky, then you can maybe try replacing the coil. But generally, coils work until they don't, and then they stop working. So you don't need to throw money away unless you need to. Or, I don't know, you spend your money how you want, but I wouldn't replace them unless you need to. Colin, so I'm performing Blasphemy today. Uh-oh. It's been in the 90s all week, and I picked up some seltzers for tonight. God, what is wrong with you? That's okay. The seltzers are okay sometimes. Pez Johnson said, I had to buy another coil for roller games. It burnt because the end of stroke shorted to the bracket. Yep, that'll happen. Yeah, Pinball Gramps, those coils could wear out on that game, especially if the end of stroke switches are not gapped properly. So if you do end up replacing the end of stroke switches on those coils, make sure that you get them gapped properly before trying to play the game. Also, you could burn them up real quick. Eric says, thoughts on coil fans? People complain about flipper strength. I don't know. I think these people are spoiled and they need to chill out and realize that coils have been overheating for bazillion years and just play the dang game. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I've never really used them. I particularly don't see... I bet you they have performance gains. I'm sure that they actually do work. Am I going to go through the trouble of installing them on my games? No. Especially something that's on location. No, I don't want anything else to potentially fail or short or do anything weird. But I'm sure they do work. At home, maybe in a super competitive environment, like for an all-day tournament or something, they would be extremely useful. But I wouldn't install them on my own games, per se. It's neat, though. Those 3D printed brackets that one fella's been making them with for a couple years are really neat. I think they're cool, but not for me. Colin's talking about all sorts of seltzers. I just can't get into them. I mean, they're good, but it's just not my thing. I went to a distillery in Chicago with a friend of mine, and they had canned cocktails, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I've never seen that before. I guess that's like a new phenomenon. People have canned cocktails. That's kind of cool, I guess. Let's talk about pinball. I know Emoto would be here and just like rolling her eyes like, oh, everyone's talking about booze. I'm trying to think. I don't have anything pinball related going on. Oh, I did play one of my pinball games at home for like the first time in 2 months last weekend. That was fun. TNA is really fun. I like that game. It kicked my wife and I's butt, though, so we were discouraged and then turned it off. But there might be more TNA action coming soon. What else do I have going on? I've got a couple service calls. I've got a guy in Charleston that wants me to come down and work on some games. I need to email. I need to go back to Savannah because I've got a bunch of work to do in Savannah. I've got a service call. I have 2 service calls people want me to go do in Augusta. I need time, man. Eric needs to go rebuild his flippers. Yes, you definitely should. Everyone likes a good flipper. Is Emoto at San Diego Comic-Con? No. Emoto is at home taking a well-deserved break. She's been on the road a lot, so she's getting some time to chill out, and that's why I wanted her to not come today so she could relax. San Diego Comic-Con is an amazing event. I went years and years and years ago before it turned into like a mega exclusive, you know, tickets sell out in 10 minutes sort of a crazy thing, and it's a neat event. But I know that Stern has a booth there, and there may or may not be something being announced there. I think y'all have to just wait and see. Pinball Gramps, you should come to this Charleston, West Virginia. Maybe one day. I've always wanted to go to West Virginia. I've driven through. I've been to certain bits. My wife went to the, gosh, what is that hotel up there? Crazy cool old Victorian resort. The Biltmore. The Biltmore. It's gorgeous. It's such a cool hotel. I'd love to go myself. Pez Johnson says, people at the location I help at were very surprised when I rebuilt the flippers on a couple games. It's like a whole new game. Very much so. They really liven it up, huh? Ooh, Eric. Yeah, no, when WPC games like that reset when you hit the flippers, that can be a gigantic headache to fix. What I would recommend before you jump onto anything crazy, go to PinWiki and go to the WPC Reset Low 5 Volt section and read up. There's a lot of old, outdated information on the internet about that, where if the game resets, you automatically go in and replace a bridge rectifier and a couple capacitors, and that is not necessarily the fix. That is kind of like the last step in that fix, and it can also be something that if you don't do it correctly, you can do awful damage to the board. The Williams driver boards used snap capacitors with those crazy prongs at the bottom, and you really need to use 2 soldering irons to heat those things upright to get them out without tearing fillets and stuff. It's pretty gnarly. The quick solution to fix that for a customer's game that might be far away, or if it's literally only a home game, is there is a Wpc Reset Board. What it does is it intercepts the 12 volts coming to the computer, turns it into its own local 5 volt supply, and supplies the computer. What I'll normally do with that, though, is there's a reset chip you can buy. It's called a DS, David Scott 1811. And what it is it changes the reset threshold from like 4.8 volts down to 4.4 volts. And that will sometimes alleviate that problem. The computer can run on like 4.2 volts, but you don't want it to go that low. Anyways, read up on it. It can be gnarly. But for a home game, those reset boards are great, and I recommend them. They're not a permanent solution. They are not a good thing to use on location where the games are on all day, but in homes they're fine. Per Monson's correct. Also, check the diodes on the flipper coils. There can be weird things going on there too. How is that? What's the temperature like in Norway right now? Are you getting any of that crazy 40-degree stuff that like Southern Europe and the UK are getting right now? God, there's so many chats going on now. Thank you, Pez Johnson, for linking that link to PinWiki. Pinball Gramps, if your flippers are floating like that, or if they're starting to creep up, get it back into the correct position and really crank down on the flipper cranks. You need to use a lot of gusto to get those things tight. They really need to be tightened, like even stronger than you think they might be. Be careful not to break things. I know that those are kind of not mutual. Tighten it down a lot, but don't break it. Well, you'll get it. Eric, I also do want to come up to Wilmington sometime. I don't go to North Carolina enough. I like it there. Steven Salazar, on my Rush Premium, the left ramp super jackpot switch tends to reject the ball periodically back to the playfield. The wire form moves freely by hand. What I would do is I would ensure that the actual wire form and the tension of the switch is causing the ball to reject. I'd be curious if, I don't want to say skill issue, you're not hitting it right, but I'd be curious if you're chattering the ball going up the ramp at all, and maybe that's what's causing it to come down. But yeah, no, there is no real advice I could give you just because that's such a situational thing, but it sounds like you're correct. I mean, make sure that the ball can move that wire form fully. Make sure that the wire form didn't like jump the switch arm or something like that. A couple things to take a look at. Per Monson, yes, yeah. Also, the plugs that bring the AC into the driver boards are very important to check, and that's why I always tell people there's a step-by-step system. You look at the connectors from the transformer, because sometimes those can burn. Then you look at the connectors on the board, and then you check. There's so many things to check. 23C, that sounds nice. I wish. I don't even think it's been 23 degrees here for a week. Like every day when I wake up, it's like, 26 degrees to 30 degrees, even at like 3 in the morning. So it's hot right now. Eric says, gotta bounce. Fun seeing Guardians of the Galaxy get some TLC. Catch you next time. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed we couldn't fix that, but I still don't think that those craters in that board are correct on those chips. But we'll see. I'm curious about your wire form and the ramp thing, though. I mean, the only way I could think of that thing like rejecting it is if there's like way too much tension on the switch, and if you don't make a super clean shot, that thing is already wanting to push the ball back down as it's barely cresting it, you know? Like I said, I mean, just look and see how the way everything works together. If you look at like a switch, right? Are there any? This game uses optos, doesn't it? Actually, no. The I made it switch is an opto, and it's like at the top of the ramp. There's no entrance switches at all. Only a made switch. But just make sure that it didn't jump, right? So you want to make sure that the wire form and its like U-shaped depression didn't like jump the switch, where it's like pushing against the switch in a weird way. Yeah, so I think the flipper cranks for your game, you're going to need a 3/8 inch wrench, and you're just going to need to really just tighten the heck out of it. Get it real tight, and then the flipper shouldn't creep anymore. All it's relying on are like 2 1/8 inch, or not even an 1/8 of an inch, like a 16th inch pieces of metal to squeeze it around to try to keep it from rotating this way. So just get them real tight, and that should be good. That was loud. Check it out. Cool. Report back. If you are here on Thursdays and you report back next week and you're like, hey, I found something goofy, that would be good to know. But I couldn't tell you. I mean, I think sometimes like when I have ramp issues, or I feel like a ramp isn't working the right way, or something is rejecting it, or even especially with auto launches, a really interesting thing to use is the supercomputer in your pocket. There are high-speed or slow-motion camera, that slow-motion ability on the camera in your phone. It can be really useful to see things that you just can't see with the naked eye. When balls the auto launch isn't kicking the ball all the way around, or it feels weak, or it's not acting correct. Sometimes if you film that with the high-speed camera, you'll see that, well, when the auto plunger is hitting it, it's actually hitting it at kind of an angle, and it's forcing it into a rail, and then it chatters all the way up, and that's why it doesn't make a full plunge or something like that. So I like the high-speed camera technique. It's good. I'm going to drink some delicious beverage here. I love beverage. Anyways, yeah, so that's that. I think we'll probably try to work on this again if I can get another board. I think the next game we will work on, though, is Baywatch. We've been promising to work on Baywatch for like 2 years, and the time is finally upon us. I'm looking at it now, and it's going to take a lot to unbury, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a gigantic project just because it needs a lot of, I mean, it got taken apart by someone else a long time ago, and now I need to put it back together. I don't know if everything's still there. I should be, and I should be able to find it if not. I do need to ask my mom to send me the DMD I bought in California to me, so I need to instruct her on how extraordinarily important that part is to be packaged well. So. What flavored water was it? It was just a nice light carbonated water, Pinball Magician, does the display work on the Baywatch? No. I haven't seen you chat, maybe I've missed you, but the Baywatch has kind of been a meme on this channel forever. I bought it from Mark, the owner of Marco, about a year ago. And the display in it was dead. So I knew I had one, so I started digging through my boxes and boxes and boxes of boards, and I found one that I had marked. I think I labeled it. It was like, blah, 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 something 2015, and it said works, ? So I think I have one that probably works. I then found another one that says, this works, tested this day, which was, again, almost 2016, 6 years ago. And then I bought another one for $20 at a swap meet at a California pinball show I went to a while ago. And the guy said it worked when he took it out of a Baywatch. So we'll see. We'll see if it works. I have 3 chances to get it right, and if none of those things work, then I have to spend $500 and buy a color DMD that I don't want to spend $500 on. But the color DMD does look great on Baywatch. So, Permonson says that SternSpareParts.de has the part that I need. That's cool. It's just so far away, man. It might be cheaper for, well, shipping isn't that bad, and I guess we're on par with the euro right now, but I think I might be able to pull a couple strings and see if I can get some friends at Stern to send me one, so we'll see. Pinball Magician says, I had a Batman Forever display that was flaky, and I was able to resolder the power connectors, and it's been rock solid since. Huh. I think I spent 15 minutes looking at this display, and I think I found that one of the voltages was bad. We'll do a show and tell next time. Oh, they don't ship to the US? Oh, well, I can ship it to you and you can ship it to me, right? No, we the thing that makes that board unique is it's a 128 pixel wide by 64 pixels tall. So it's 2 times as big as a normal DMD. And what happens is it's a really odd one. It creates a bunch of its own voltages on the board, and all of that circuitry is underneath the glass. So to access a lot of those components, you have to essentially you'd have to remove the glass to do it, and it's a giant pain in the butt. And I don't think Wpc, the company that made those things, I don't think they service them anymore. And really, at the end of the day, you can buy a color DMD and just be done with it and not have to worry about it anymore. And I like everything to be original, but man, the color DMD on Baywatch looks really good. It's just $500, and I am not, it's a little bit out of my tax bracket for a pinball part. Even though it is a very important pinball part, there are other things I'd rather spend $500 on, but we'll see. Only 51 euros, so that's like $50 now because the dollar is strong, or I guess the euro and dollar are just falling in their own ways. Color DMD might be your best bet. Yeah, well, we're going to go test through 3 of them. So the thing is if I can figure out if any of my big DMDs are good, since I have 3, I mean, I'll use one. If all 3 of them are good, I'll use one, I'll keep one, and then one of you guys can have one. I will sell it to you for cheap if you use it in a game. I don't want people to hoard parts. I want people to do opposite of what I do and hoard things. So, Permonson has color DMDs on all your games. Yeah, no, they're cool, man. I like them. Just a little expensive for me. Nintendo Ramy, are y'all hiring for tech work? We don't do tech work. I'm the only person that does tech work at Marco, so. It only takes you hours, though, to figure out mistakes you've made. Well, it's okay. That's how you learn, dude. No, none of us would be, even the best, anyone who fixes anything makes mistakes, and the only way to get better is to learn from the mistakes you've made. I mean, God, I remember one time, I think it was an oil pan gasket on my Toyota truck. Just be real sure that you put the RTV silicone around every single bit of that oil pan, because I tell you what, changing out an oil pan is not fun. You make a mistake and you never forget it. You'll never, ever forget all of those mistakes that you've made, and it'll just make you faster. So. Regular DMDs are expensive. Well, especially now. Yeah, the DMDs, we had to buy DMDs from Wpc for a lot more money than they used to cost because they were just about to close the factory down. So that's why they're like $100 more than they traditionally were. So that is true, Colin. You do have to listen to people giving you advice. You can discount advice all the time, but a lot of the times the people giving advice have made the same mistakes you are about to make. So it's true for many things. Anyways, really quick, we're going to see if there's someone to raid, and then we might have a special surprise for just a quick moment here. Yeah? All right. let's see, Twitch. Let's see who's streaming. If Manu is streaming, we're going to definitely go see Manu. Actually, no, we're going to go raid Jack because Jack is at San Diego Comic-Con right now. Oh, hold on, wait. I need to mute that because I think we would hear Jack's stream if we're not. Anyways, okay, well, we do have someone to raid, so we'll definitely get that ready here really quick. Raid. Yeah, everyone just wants to raid. That'll be kind. Well, so actually, this is kind of fun. I actually have a guest here. I've met this fella multiple times at the Midwest Gaming Classic. He came to town for a few reasons, but went to the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, and a viewer of the show. He's actually in this building. David, do you want to come show your face on the internet really quick? It's fun. I have the microphone, but here's David. He's joined us. He's been watching this show with us for quite some time. I gave you a tour of Marco today.
It was awesome. It was very awesome. I am so glad I came, and I'm so glad I've met everyone at Marco. I think the world of them. They do a great job. I've been into the industry only since 2016. My youngest son, who is 41, and I'm quite old, we've gotten into it, and since then we have 9 pinball, 2 bowlers, and a slot machine.
That's a good combination. David's very similar to me because he likes the old Bally games.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
David's been watching this show for a while, and I always love meeting people that enjoy watching this. So I thank you for the kind words you said, and thanks for coming, too.
I appreciate the tour and everything. And hi, everyone.
We're going to get ready to raid Jack now, so thanks for coming on camera. I think I pushed him out of his comfort zone just a teeny bit, but it's always fun to show your face on the internet, right? All right. I don't need to tell anyone who we're about to go raid. It's friggin' Jack Danger. You gotta throw your flippers and butts in the air, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm talking about. So, anywho, we're gonna go raid. Thank you for joining us. Jack is at San Diego Comic-Con. Go make fun of him. He's super rad. You guys are super rad. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm excited to see y'all next week. And y'all be safe. Have a good weekend, all right? Goodbye.